Have you ever dreamed of spending time with your favorite authors, asking them everything you ever wondered about the characters you love? For 2 glorious months, September and October, I got to do exactly that. I'm Millie Copper, writer of cozy apocalyptic fiction and practical preparedness manuals. The past couple of months have been a whirlwind. I attended 3 full-scale writing conferences, a weekend book signing, and another was spent at a literary arts festival. I thought it would be fun to give you a peek at some of the best-selling writers I've spent time with recently. And of course, I thought about this after the fact, so didn't take nearly as many pictures and videos as I should have. It'll still be fine, and I know you're going to love it. Before we get started, welcome back to my channel, where I mainly share the audio version of the stories I write. I drop a new book or novella 1 time per month, along with a monthly chit chat, sort of like this one, where I give you a peek behind the scenes of my writing life or share about my stories, how they came to be, or an important detail that you might not know. So thank you very much for being here. If this or any of my videos are a blessing to you, I want to encourage you to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and then turn on notifications so you never miss a story or video. Because I'm going to be sharing a lot of information, a lot of details, and a lot of pictures and a lot of names, you might see me looking at my phone or looking down as we go along, because I just want to make sure I get everything right so you don't miss anything or I don't mess up as I'm showing you a picture and giving you the wrong name that goes with the picture. So let's get started. The first week of September, I spent New Orleans. I had never been to New Orleans before. It was something very exciting for me. I was there for the BoucherCon World Mystery Convention, which is an annual convention in honor of Anthony Bouchercon, the mystery fiction critic, editor, and author. This convention is a mix of both writers and readers and was a great way to bring everyone together. It was my first time attending BoucherCon, and I wasn't really sure exactly what to expect. So in a brand new city, New Orleans, attending a brand new conference, it was a lot. It was also very good. So the event consists of numerous panels and networking opportunities. So the day before the event started, I arrived a little bit early and I convinced my friends Tara Ellis and Franklin Horton to take a hike with me. Franklin, you might recognize his name. He is the best-selling author of The Borrowed World and the Mad Mix series, which are very popular post-apocalyptic series. And my friend Tara, she's an amazing writer, has published over 50 books across 10 different genres, including post-apoc. Her best-selling Flashpoint series, you might be familiar with that one. It's available in ebook and audio. I'm not sure about print. Our hike was a loop around New Orleans City Park, which included a sign warning us of alligators. We didn't see any alligators, and I'll admit that was a little disappointing. I knew especially Tara was disappointed because she went searching for them. So no alligators on that hike. And that was one of my hikes for my 52 hike challenge that I'm doing this year. I'm not sure if I've mentioned that, but at the beginning of the year, I started my challenge with hike number 1 on January 1st. And by December 31st, I'll have completed 52 hikes. This is my 3rd year doing this challenge. The first year, I didn't know what I was doing and didn't hike very much. I came into it without much endurance. So my hikes were short, very short. And now they're longer, depending on the time. My minimum is 2 miles. And like in this path around City Park, it's a paved path. So hike is a very generous term for some of the walks that I take, but I still count them because I make the rules. And it's just a great way to get myself outside and keep exercising. So the 52 hike challenge, you're going to hear mentions of that several times throughout this because I had to keep hiking during my busy 2 months. Anyway, on opening day of BoucherCon, I had the privilege of moderating the Don't Quit Your Day Job Amateur Crime Solvers panel. I'd signed up to be an emergency moderator, volunteering to fill in if a scheduled moderator couldn't make it. So it worked out that I ended up with about 2 weeks notice. So that did give me some time to prepare. And all of the authors on this panel were cozy mystery writers. And I've mentioned before how much I love cozies. So the research for the panel, had to read each of their books, was right up my alley. And here's the picture of all of us. I'm on the far left and joined by authors Darlene Dizamba, Tammy Uliano, M.L. Hamilton, Miranda James, and Sharon Lynn. And I'll make sure that there's links to their Amazon author pages so you can find each of these authors I've just mentioned, along with Franklin and Tara that went hiking with me. So that way, if you want to learn more about any of these authors, you can do so. One of the great things about BoucherCon and conferences in general is meeting people who have only known online. Fellow Raventhorn Books authors MJ Witt and Rick Tippins were at BoucherCon. I knew them from online chats we'd had when we talked within the Raventhorn Books community, but this was our first in-person meeting. I have to say, both of them are fabulous. I had a really good time getting to know them and spending some time with them. MJ and I even teamed up for the Speed Dating with Authors event. This was a kick. He and I moved from table to table where readers were waiting, and each of us had 2 minutes to tell all about our books. I shared my new Terror by the Bighorn River book, which is in the As the Light Dies world, presented by Raventhorn Books. And this book, Terror by the Bighorn River, combines mystery and the apocalypse, while MJ shared about his McKay's Justice series. So also at BoucherCon was fellow Wyomingite Craig Johnson. He was a special guest and received the Lifetime Achievement Award. Now, Craig Johnson is the writer of the popular Longmire series, which was also on television. And of course, the panel that he was on was fabulous. I met Mr. Johnson a few years ago at one of our Wyoming Writers Conferences where he was the keynote speaker. When I had a chance to talk with him at BoucherCon, he was great about pretending that he remembered me. He's not only an amazing writer, but a very genuine and kind person too. When we weren't learning, we had plenty of time to see the sights of New Orleans and enjoy the amazing food. A group of us went to Commander's Palace, which I'd heard great things about. I tried the 3-course offering, which included 3 sample sizes of soup, an entree, and bread pudding for dessert. It was very good. Highly recommend. So it was 3 different soups. One of them was a turtle soup. Yes, turtle soup. I liked it. I liked it a lot, but I really liked their special soup of the day, which was like a shrimp bisque. That was absolutely amazing. So go there for the soup. If nothing else, go for the soups. We did manage to get a picture of a few of us as we were leaving Commander's Palace. Douglas Pratt, he is the author of the Chase Gordon tropical thrillers, and his lovely wife is with him. And then kind of tucked in there is L.T. Ryan, who writes the Jack Noble and Rachel Hatch thrillers. And there's my good friend and fellow post-apocalyptic author, Tara Ellis. So Tara's first Impact Book 1 of the 6th Extinction series recently won an Amazon All-Stars Award, which that's really a very cool award that Amazon passes out. It means that readers really enjoyed her book. And so that's one of the ways they let us know when a reader likes something is by awarding us the Amazon All-Star Award. Another night found us at a casual restaurant. I think it was called Coop's Palace. At this restaurant, I got the sampler platter and was very happy with it. I don't know how much food I'm going to talk about in this video, but if I talk about a lot, you're probably going to hear me say I got the sampler because there's just something about trying a multitude of things that is appealing to me. So figure if you take me out to dinner, I'm going to get the sampler platter or the sample suits or the sample salads. It's just a thing with me. Going around the table in this photo, we have the amazing Douglas Pratt again, Tara Ellis again, author Deanie Ray, who writes the amazing Piper Harris mysteries. Next to her is author and screenwriter T.D. Donnelly. I'm going to come back to him and tell you more about him in a minute. I'm on the far end in the white shirt, and behind me, you'll see our server, who did the best photobomb ever. Next to me is the Cheryl Bradshaw, who is a New York Times and 11-time USA Today bestselling author who writes in multiple genres. Sitting next to her is her lovely partner. And then next to him, we have again Franklin Horton. So back to TD Donnelly. I met Tom at a writers' conference last year. I was so excited when he reached out in advance of BoucherCon and invited me to this special dinner that he arranged at the Commander's Palace. And then I just kind of got to hang out with him and several of the others the whole time we were at BoucherCon. So Tom is the author of 2 thrillers so far, but he's also a longtime writer, having had a career as a screenwriter for almost 30 years. I'm hoping I can convince Tom to join me for one of these chit chats. I know you all would love meeting him. After the conference wrapped up, I got in one of my walks, which counted as hike number 32 toward my 52 hike challenge for the year. And I went along the river walk. My friend Deanie Ray joined me. So that was nice to get to spend a little more time with her and get some exercise in after a busy week. So my room at the hotel had a great view of the Mississippi River. I saw lots of cargo ships and tugs during the week. And as I was packing up for the next leg of my adventure, even saw a cruise ship leaving. My dog, this is Irwin. So Irwin likes to sit as close to me as he can all day. So anyway, following BoucherCon, my friend Tara and I went to St. Pete Beach to take a week for a writer's retreat. We both worked on projects we had planned, which for me included several short stories for this channel and a brand new series I've been planning for a couple of years and finally moved forward with. So in addition to the work we completed, we also had time for enjoying the beach, sun, and sand. We used the St. Pete Beach Trail to knock off hike number 37 of my 52 hike challenge. I enjoyed breakfast on the balcony each morning and sunsets either from the condo or from the beach, and managed to walk on the beach nearly every day. It was fabulous and very productive time. Tara and I chose St. Pete for our writers retreat because we had a second conference to attend there, the annual NINC conference. This was my 3rd year attending NINC, which is short for Novelist Inc. The first year was a little overwhelming, kind of like how BoucherCon was this year. Many of the authors there were people whose books I'd read and loved. I was more like a fangirl than another author. I sat at a table with Diane Capri, who writes the Hunt for Jack Reacher series on the very first night. She has another series called The Hunt for Justice, and I'd read all of those and loved them and had to make sure I told her how much I loved them. Yes, I am a bit of a geek. During that first year, actually that first night, I also met Wayne Stinnett, who writes the Jesse McDermott Caribbean Adventures. I'd read all of his books and had to tell him how he was responsible for me being a fiction writer. That's probably a story I'll share with you in a future video. But I do want you to know that Wayne Stinnett, I have a huge amount of gratitude for him. And while I don't have a picture of me with either Diane or Wayne, maybe I can remedy that at next year's NINC conference. Before the conference started, we joined a few of the other authors for a very fun event known as Authors in Airplanes. Yep, it's just like it sounds. Author and pilot Nathan Van Coops took us up in his Cessna 172. While I've flown in commercial airplanes, of course, and have even gone up on a helicopter a few times, this was the first time I'd been in a 4-seater. I was a little nervous, but as soon as we were up, I loved it. By the time we were finished, I was texting my husband telling him I wanted to get my pilot's license. It was so great. My friends Tara and Deanie Ray, along with Nathan, added to the fun, of course. And I'm still thinking about that pilot's license. The conference itself was great, as always. This year, I met more industry people than I usually do, people who are there to support the writers, including Stacy and Phil from Spoken. Spoken is one of the platforms I use to bring audiobooks to you. Currently, I'm using Spoken only for the short stories because when I first signed up with them, I understood that they could only handle up to a certain word count, which wasn't enough for my full length books. That's no longer the case. So I might start doing some of the longer books on Spoken since I'm very happy with the ease of the process and the end results. I do wish I would have done a better job of taking photos. There were so many authors there at NINC that I'm sure you would have loved to see pictures of. I did get this fabulous photo with KK Johns and Mark Lauren. Both are fellow Raventhorn Books authors. In fact, Mark Lauren is the writer of the original October Falls series, and Mark actually gave me a book when I met him. He even had my name on it. I guess he knew he was going to see me or was planning to see me. So he had a sticky tab with my name on it. And this book is kind of a special edition. Inside, it has a list of the characters in the book. And what Mark did is when he wrote his story, he based his characters on real people. And he let them know, I'm writing these books and you're in it, and here's your name. So in the book, he has the list of the different characters here, has their real name and their character name, and they've all signed it. So I think everybody that's listed, almost everybody on the first page and most on the next pages, have signed this. So it's an extra special signed copy. And then Mark, of course, put my name in it also. So that is very, very fun and just very special to get this from Mark and to be able to write with him and KK Johns and MJ Witt and Rick Tibbins and all of the other Raventhorn writers. My good friend, Robin Vandersice. She was one of the first people, she was the first person to write in the shared October Fall world. And I know her from another event that we did together several years ago. And she said such good things about the Raventhorn books and how wonderful they were to work with that I knew I just wanted to be a part of it. I'll put all three pictures up so you can see Mark, Lauren, and KK Johns and me. And then Rick and MJ and me, and then Robin and me at the event that we met at a few years ago. So while I did spend quite a bit of time in classrooms and learning all things authorly, there was still plenty of fun to be had. Saturday night, we had a wonderful dinner on the beach. Tara and I dressed up in our fancy duds, which since we'd been living out of our suitcases for about 3 weeks by then, they seemed a little less fancy than the first week we were together. I'm pretty sure we were tired of seeing each other in the same thing every single day. After the beach blowout dinner was the annual costume karaoke event. Tara and I planned ahead and brought costumes that were something like ABBA. Cheryl Bradshaw showed up as Stevie Nicks, and arriving as themselves were Cynthia Gunderson, contemporary romance and women fiction writer, on the far left, and Susie K. Quinn, cozy mystery master, on the far right. When the actual singing time arrived, we convinced our good friend, Douglas Pratt, to be part of our band, and he even wore a wig that we brought for him. At the last minute, we pulled David Behrens, author of the Troy Bodine tropical thrillers, into the group. And yes, we were awesome. This is a good time to point out that Douglas Pratt co-hosts the Two Authors podcast with the ever gracious Nicholas Harvey, which you can find here on YouTube or on Podbean. Their podcast is a great way to hear from your favorite authors and get a peek behind the scenes. They even did recordings at NINC where you might be able to hear some of the authors I've shown you photos of. You can listen to that right here on YouTube. The episode title is Recorded Live from the 2025 NINC Conference. You can catch me as a guest at about 47 minutes and 40 seconds. I'll make sure that there's a link down below so you can find that episode if you're interested. We finished off the evening with more karaoke down the street. I'm not going to lie. That was probably the latest I'd stayed up in years. So party animal, I am not. But it was just a ton of fun. Even though the official conference ended on Saturday night, I stayed a few more days and did a post-conference event. I missed getting photos of this, but wanted to share that I spent the day with Diana Zarissa. If you've watched my What is Cozy Apocalyptic Fiction? Let's Compare with a Cozy Mystery video, you may recognize the name. Diana is the author of the Isle of Man Cozy Mystery series, which features Aunt Bessie. And this is the series I use to compare my cozy apocalyptic fiction with a cozy mystery. Diana has published over 100 books, and I had a great day with her and really enjoyed soaking in her knowledge. So that was my September. I left home on September 1st at like 6 in the morning and returned home on the evening of September 23rd. I had a few days rest, which included a visit from my aunt and uncle. That was absolutely wonderful. Of course, I have no pictures to show you, but just trust me, it was wonderful. And then it was back to work. The first weekend of October, I was in Casper, Wyoming for the Wyoming Pop Culture Con. This was my second year attending. In 2024, I really got into the spirit of the event and went in costume. Well, something like a costume. It was my version of a survivor of the apocalypse. This year, I skipped the costume, but still had a wonderful time. It was great to have readers I met at last year search me out for the next book in a series and to meet lots of new people. The next weekend, I was in Lander, Wyoming for Bookmarked Literary Arts Festival. This was my third year attending this fabulous event. This isn't a conference for learning like BoucherCon and NINC. And while there is a signing event that lasts for a couple of hours, it's not the same as the con I'd gone to in Casper. This is truly a literary event. There's readings from fiction and nonfiction, memoirs, poetry. It's all just really lovely. My friend Mandy Hines says it's like a family reunion without all the drama. So Mandy's kind of a jack of all trades. She writes poetry, horror, and psychological thrillers. Definitely very well-rounded. So in fact, I love poetry. So whenever I go to an event where there's poetry books available, I always manage to come home with a book or two. This is Mandy's book that I picked up, I think at last year's event, Origami Stars and Hot Air Moon, which is a book of poetry. It is lovely. So again, poetry, lovely, happy. There I am reading from my book, Terror on the Bighorn River. Since it's set in nearby Thermopolis, it seemed an appropriate choice. And then there's my good friend, Helen M. Pugsley, who not only gave a wonderful reading Saturday afternoon, but was also the unofficial photographer and took pictures of all of us. Thank you, Helen. So October 22nd to 25th found me in Jackson, Wyoming at the Jackson Hole Writers Conference. Even though this conference has been around for 30 years, I only learned about it a couple of years ago, and this was my first opportunity to attend. Another good one. My friend Iris Morgan and I rode together. This is her debut novel, The Kidnapping of Grace Mitchell. She's working on book number 2 and even did some writing while we were away at the conference. In the mornings before we would go to the event, we would spend some time writing together. So that was very fun. So she has about halfway through on her second book and has her plans in place for the third book in the series of Grace Mitchell, The Kidnapping of Grace Mitchell. I may have said the name wrong. Iris, if you're watching this and I said the name wrong the first time, I'm sorry, but you're used to it. So anyway, Iris Morgan, The Kidnapping of Grace Mitchell. Something I love about Iris's book is it has an unexpected heroine. Grace Mitchell is 67 years old, and well, you'll just have to read to discover how awesome Grace is. Iris and I had a little time to check out the town before the conference. I've passed through Jackson a couple of times, but this was the first time I've really been able to stay and visit. I even found time for hike number 42 of my hiking challenge. The fall colors were spectacular, and I did have loose plans to do hike 43 before we left on Sunday morning, but the weather changed those plans, and when we did finally go, it was snowing. So, no hiking for me that day. I don't mind hiking in the snow. In fact, I actually like it, but I didn't have the proper footwear and would have ended up in wet shoes all day. And that did not sound very appealing. The main event was, of course, the conference itself. I love the size of the conference, enough people to make it clear we were doing something important, but not so many that friendships couldn't be made. There were several people I knew from other events across the state, but others who I met for the first time. And of course, as expected, when gathered with writers, everybody is just so nice and friendly and helpful and just lovely. So, Matt Daly is a Wyoming poet, and he is also the executive director of Jackson Hole Writers. He was a wonderful host. He and his team did a great job bringing in the faculty. I didn't get nearly enough pictures, but you can see the complete lineup on the Jackson Hole Writers Conference website. As long as you're watching this near the time of the 2025 event, I don't know when they'll take that info down. I did get a photo from an event on opening day that was titled Growing Your Community of Writers. This was a roundtable style discussion where the authors shared ways of connecting. Writing can be a lonely business. So being able to share ways to connect with other writers is always good. From left to right is moderator Matt Daly. Next is Camille Dungy, Andrew Buckley, Laura Pritchett, Greg Marshall, and Lucas Schaefer. And here's one with Kristen Hugo, Wyoming Arts Council Nonfiction Fellow. I first met Kristen in 2024 at the Bookmark Literary Arts Festival. Kristen is super interesting. She has a popular channel on TikTok called Carcass Afterlives. You can also find her on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram under that same name. And yes, the channel is exactly what it sounds like. Kristen takes videos and pictures of dead animals and bones, their carcasses. She even has a book all about this coming out in the next year or so. While I failed at getting a picture with Camille Dungy, I did pick up a copy of her book, Soil, and I grabbed a copy of Greg Marshall's book, Leg, the story of a limb and the boy who grew it. So both Camille and Greg had such amazing stories that they shared from the stage that I wanted to learn more and support them by getting their books. I also have another book of poetry, Matt Daly's Between Here and Home. And I have a second book of Matt's, but it wasn't on my shelf. I think it's up in my room, but I'll show you this one. And of course, I'll have links down below so you can find all of Matt's and Camille's and Greg's information. I did get a picture with Andrew Buckley. There you can see our nice picture together. And I grabbed his collection of Christmas stories, horrible Christmas fairy tales. It's amusing, if nothing else, but this is actually a gift for my son. So I did read it. It was very fun. So good job on this, Andrew. And if you know my son, don't tell him what he's getting for Christmas. My October events were essentially double duty activities. I went to these not only as a writer, but also as a representative of Wyoming Writers, Inc. I'm the current president of the Wyoming Writers, and I use these events as an outreach opportunity. The organizers of Bookmarked and Jackson Hole Writers even let me pass out information and talk about Wyoming writers. Right now, our board is deep in planning for our own writers conference, which will be held June 4th through 7th in Casper, Wyoming. If you are a writer or an aspiring writer, we'd love to have you join us. You don't need to live in Wyoming to come to the Wyoming Writers Conference. As our plans progress, I'll share more about who we'll have at this year's conference and what our classes will look like. Please do reach out to me if you have any questions or want more information about Wyoming Writers Conference, and what we do. I'm happy to talk about that anytime. So I hope you enjoyed this photo tour of my last couple of months, and maybe you even recognize some of the authors I had the privilege of spending time with. There's going to be lots of links below so you can find books and info about the people I've highlighted in this video. So what's next for this channel? Well, Fowler's Snare is coming next on Friday, November 28th. That's the day after Thanksgiving. I'll release this new full-length book. So if you've finished your Black Friday shopping and you're looking for something to do, check it out. This is part 5 of the Havoc in Wyoming series. Again, the title is Fowler's Snare. And then the following week on December 5th, I'm dropping a Christmas story. Christmas on the Mountain, a Havoc in Wyoming novella, is set during the Christmas season and asks the question, can the spirit of Christmas be found during the apocalypse? Christmas on the Mountain is one of my Readers Club exclusive stories. Because it's a Readers Club exclusive, I wouldn't normally put the entire book on the public YouTube channel. For my Readers Club exclusives, I share a chapter or two of the audio of that book and then provide a link to join my Readers Club to receive private access to the full story. The reason is because it is a special story exclusively given when joining my Readers Club. And for Christmas on the Mountain, that is what will happen eventually. But as my Christmas gift to you, my wonderful YouTube subscribers, this story is going to play in its entirety without you needing to do anything special, at least for a while. So this full version will be available from December 5th until January 31st, right here on the main channel. Now, I do want to mention that Christmas on the Mountain was written after part 6 of the Havoc in Wyoming series. If you've been following along with this series, you probably know I've released parts 1 to 4 so far, with part 5 dropping the day after Thanksgiving. Part 6, Pestilence in the Darkness, is not going to drop until January 9th. So I'm warning you about this because Christmas on the Mountain does contain some spoilers that you won't find out about until part 6. So they're mentioned in Christmas on the Mountain. So it's going to ruin it a little bit for part 6. Not a lot of spoilers, but there are a couple of things in there. So if you want to maintain the surprise, hold off on listening to this Christmas story until after you've listened to Pestilence in the Darkness, which again comes out January 9th. As mentioned, I'll leave this full audiobook available from December 5th until the end of January, giving you several weeks after part 6 drops in order to listen to both. On February 1st, the full-length version will come down, and the abbreviated version, which will only share part of a chapter and will require joining my Readers Club newsletter in order to listen to the whole thing. So take advantage of listening to it between December 5th and January 31st. And watch for Fowler's Snare next Friday, November 28th, followed by Christmas on the Mountain, Friday, December 5th. To be sure you don't miss when new videos go live, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. If you haven't already subscribed, I'd be truly honored if you would. So that's about what I have for you for this week. Again, lots of links down below. I hope you really enjoyed this photo tour of the last couple of months of my writing life and the things that I've been doing. Please do drop me a comment. Let me know. Did you recognize any of these authors? Have you read any of the books that I mentioned? Or maybe you've watched the Longmire TV series, which is set here in Wyoming. It's not filmed in Wyoming, but it is set in Wyoming. So anyway, please do drop me a comment and let me know. And I will see you next time.